Hello and welcome to Africa News. I'm Ketavan Gorgestani. Tonight, an anti-Charlie Hebdo protest turns violent, killing 4 in Zinder, Niger's second largest city. Similar angry protests took place in several other countries, including Algeria and Mali. The World Health Organization says the Ebola outbreak is slowing down. We'll hear from Augustin Augier, co-founder of the medical NGO Alima. And we'll take a look at how Equatorial Guinea is gearing up for the Africa Cup of Nations, which kicks off this Saturday. But we start with the latest news coming from Niger. A protest against Charlie Hebdo's latest cover depicting the Prophet Muhammad turned violent in Zinder, the country's second largest city, located near the border with northern Nigeria. 4 people were killed, including at least 1 policeman, and 45 were injured. That's according to the Interior Ministry. Following the Friday prayers, angry mobs attacked the French Cultural Center, knocking down the front door before setting fire to the cafeteria, library, and offices. There are also reports that 3 churches were ransacked, as well as other Catholic institutions and Christian-owned shops. And the Niger protests were just one of several violent demonstrations across Africa in reaction to the Charlie Hebdo cover. One of the largest protests took place in the capital of Algeria. About 3,000 demonstrators in Algiers chanted, "We are all a Mohammed," or "I am Kwashi," in reference to the Paris attackers. Similar scenes took place in the Malian capital as several thousands demonstrated in Bamako. A French flag was also set on fire outside the embassy in the Senegalese capital, Dakar, where about 1,000 protesters rallied. Similar incidents took place in Nouakchott, where the demonstration had been authorized by the Mauritanian authorities. A suicide bomber blew himself up at a market in the northeast Nigerian city of Gombe on Friday, killing at least 6 people and wounding 10, according to emergency workers on the scene. It was the second suicide attack on Gombe this week. There was no immediate claim of responsibility, but the attack bore the hallmarks of Islamist group Boko Haram. And meanwhile, Chad announced it was joining the fight against radical Islamists. The Chadian parliament voted unanimously to send troops to neighboring Cameroon and Nigeria to help fight Boko Haram. The Islamist group is accused by Washington and Paris of crimes against humanity after a series of deadly attacks in the country. Belle Lupton reports.
Addressing an annual diplomatic gathering, François Hollande was swift to wage war on terrorism at home and abroad. The French president accused Boko Haram of committing crimes against humanity in Nigeria.
It's no longer just women who are kidnapped, which is already atrocious enough. Now it's children who are massacred by this group, and entire villages which are razed to the ground.
At the beginning of January, the armed Islamist group took Baga, a northern Nigerian town on the banks of Lake Chad, a region which is controlled by Boko Haram. On Thursday, Amnesty International released satellite images of Baga. They show the town before and after the massacre. No sign of life left.
When they attacked my village, they killed the men and took the women, telling them they'd convert them. I ran a lot and hid, and I stayed in the bush for 3 days without water or food. Then I arrived here alone.
On Thursday, for the first time in 2 years, the president visited the region. Good Luck Jonathan promised shelter to those displaced, but there's little sign of help. In response, Chad has taken action. It has a strong army and now considers Boko Haram a threat to its vital interests. On Friday, a column of armoured vehicles left the capital N'Djamena, headed south to Cameroon. From there, the army can head west towards the Nigerian border.
And meanwhile, West African leaders announced the regional bloc known as ECOWAS was considering creating its own military force. ECOWAS said it would discuss the matter with the African Union during the next summit. Health workers seem to be slowly winning the battle against Ebola. The World Health Organization says the outbreak is slowing down. Earlier, I spoke to Augustin Augier, the co-founder and secretary general of the medical NGO Alima, which has a treatment center in Guinea. He welcomed the good news, but warned that more needed to be done to eradicate the disease.
Definitely, the outbreak is decreasing in the three main countries, Liberia, Guinea and Sierra Leone. But one should not forget that there are still dozens of villages in which people are still dying of Ebola and cannot have access to treatment. So we need, despite those good news, to maintain a very strong mobilization of human resources for the people to come and help, medical doctors, nurses, logisticians, mobilization of finance. The government still have to maintain their assistance to those countries and people to support the work of the NGOs, and mobilization to make big steps in terms of medical research, to have better diagnostic, to have better treatment, because we still do not have treatment to treat specifically Ebola, and to develop new vaccines that will help to definitely eradicate the disease.
Talking about treatments, there have been clinical trials in your treatment center in Guinea. Can you tell us a little bit how that's going?
Yeah, we've started a clinical trial with the Ministry of Health of Guinea and the INSERM, the main medical research institute of France, 3 weeks ago, and it's a very incredible thing to be able to start in such a short time a clinical trial for a new drug. And the trial is going well. We are trying to go as fast as possible so as to have the results, so to publish them, and for all of the patients eventually to get these drugs. But we must be very careful because we need very strong scientific evidence to make sure that we are not using this drug without the proper evidence. But the thing is, for one of the first time, we start to have good hope that in the coming months we'll have some treatment and that they will be effective to reduce the mortality for the people who are in need of treatment, and also it will give much more confidence to the people to come to the treatment center. Because it's very complicated for them to come when we tell them that the mortality is very high and there is no treatment. So today we will finally have a treatment. It will have a good chance for the people in the villages, in rural areas, to finally come to the treatment center.
After days of torrential rain, heavy flooding in Malawi has killed at least 176 people. The death toll has tripled in recent days. More than 200,000 people have also been displaced. Flash floods have swept away roads and bridges, destroyed crops, and raised fears of waterborne diseases in the southern half of the country. And the weather shows no signs of improvement. The forecast predicts more heavy rain in the next 2 or 3 weeks. The wet weather also wreaking havoc in neighboring Mozambique, killing at least 38 people there. The African continent is gearing up for its big football celebration, the Africa Cup of Nations. The competition kicks off tomorrow in Equatorial Guinea, with the hosts facing Congo. Despite having just under 2 months to prepare for the continent's biggest sporting event, the country says it's ready. Clovis Casali has more.
The Africa Cup of Nations is about to start, and Mali's Eagles have landed in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. Fans were there to cheer Seydou Keita, and just like everyone arriving in the country, the Malian footballers underwent a compulsory temperature check. The country stepped in after Morocco refused to hold the event at the planned dates.
Our president is a great Africanist, and he cannot see Africa suffer when he has a solution in his hands. Equatorial Guinea is excited and will be able to host the Africa Cup very effectively and with love.
But some have criticized the decision to hold the tournament in a country described by human rights groups as a highly repressive regime. President Théodore Obiang Nguema has ruled Equatorial Guinea with an iron fist since 1979 and is accused of misusing oil revenues. 75% of the population live below the poverty line. Despite limited resources and equipment, schools like this one offer training sessions for youths who dream of becoming professionals.
This school helps those of us who like football and didn't practice any sport before. So we come here and prepare for our future. We play in a school league and we want to win all the time.
In 2012, Equatorial Guinea co-hosted the continent's biggest sporting event and had its main stadiums in Malabo and Bata renovated specially. The two other venues are 80% completed according to authorities.
And that's all from Africa News, but stay tuned for more news coming right up on France 24.